The rumor was never invited, yet it arrived, unannounced, unafraid, like a shadow that lingers long after the light has faded away. In the ever-moving world of K-drama, where stories begin and end like waves that kiss the shore and disappear, one story refused to follow the rules. It didn't fade. It didn't close.
It didn't say goodbye.
Instead, it stayed. And at the center of that lingering mystery stand two names the world cannot stop whispering: Jun-ho and Im Yoon-ah. Their story, if it can even be called one, was never officially written beyond the script of King the Land. Yet somehow, it feels like it continues, scene after scene, moment after moment, without a script, without direction, without an ending in sight. It began simply. Two stars cast in a romantic drama. Two professionals delivering unforgettable performances. Two characters falling in love under carefully designed scenes. But somewhere between the scripted lines and unscripted glances, something shifted. Not confirmed. Not declared. Just felt. And sometimes, what is felt becomes far more powerful than what is said. The world first noticed it during the promotions of King the Land. Interviews that felt too natural. Laughter that came too easily. Silences that carried meaning instead of emptiness. Fans began to watch more closely. Not just the drama,
but them.
A look held for a second too long. A smile that arrived a moment too fast. A shared understanding that seemed to exist beyond rehearsed dialogue. At first, it was admiration, then curiosity, and finally speculation. Are they just acting? Or is something real happening behind the scenes? The questions multiplied, but the answers never came. Agencies spoke. Statements were released. Clarifications were made. But the rumor did not listen. It grew. Because rumors like this are not built on facts alone. They are built on patterns, small, almost invisible threads that, when woven together, create something impossible to ignore. And the patterns kept appearing. Months after the drama ended, they found themselves attending similar events. Not always together, not always side by side, but always within the same space, like two stars orbiting a shared sky. At one such event, an elegant night that mirrored the grandeur of the Blue Dragon Film Awards, the atmosphere carried a familiar tension. The room glowed with sophistication. Conversations flowed like quiet music. Laughter echoed beneath chandeliers that sparkled like frozen stars. Yet amidst all that brilliance, attention found its way back to them. Not because they made a scene, but because they didn't. Jun-ho stood among a group of fellow actors, engaged in polite conversation, his posture relaxed, his expression calm. Across the room, Im Yoon-ah laughed softly with a circle of colleagues, her elegance effortless, her presence impossible to ignore. Two separate worlds. Two separate conversations. And yet, the space between them felt charged, like something unseen was quietly pulling at the edges of reality. Then came the moment. Not loud, not dramatic,
just precise.
As if time itself had paused to make room for something unseen. Jun-ho's attention drifted. Not abruptly, not obviously, but with a subtle shift that only the most observant would notice. His gaze moved across the room, and found her. At that exact moment, as if guided by the same invisible rhythm, Im Yoon-ah turned slightly. Their eyes met. Not for long, but long enough for the world, watching later through slowed clips and paused frames, to feel it. A connection. Unspoken. Undefined. Unavoidable. And just like that, the moment passed. They returned to their conversations. The room continued to buzz. The night moved forward as if nothing had happened. But something had. Because in the hours that followed, the internet did what it does best. It noticed. Clips surfaced. Fans reacted. Theories exploded across timelines and comment sections. Did you see that? That wasn't just coincidence. They always do this. And once again, the rumor rose, stronger, louder, more alive than before. Because this wasn't an isolated moment. It was part of a pattern that refused to break. There were the interviews where their answers mirrored each other too perfectly. The behind-the-scenes clips from King the Land where laughter felt less like acting and more like memory in the making. The public appearances where distance existed physically but not emotionally. Each moment small. Each moment subtle. But together? Unforgettable. Why does this keep happening? One fan asked in a viral post. The answer wasn't simple. Because some connections do not follow logic. They do not need confirmation. They do not require explanation.
They simply exist.
And the world, for reasons it cannot fully explain, cannot look away. Perhaps it's because their story feels unfinished. Not in a dramatic sense. Not in a way that demands resolution. But in a quiet, lingering way. Like a song that ends without a final note, leaving listeners suspended between what was and what could be. As the night drew to a close, guests began to leave. One by one, the crowd faded. The lights dimmed. The echoes softened. Outside, the city stretched endlessly, alive with motion and noise. Jun-ho stepped into his car, offering a polite smile to the cameras before disappearing into the night. Moments later, Im Yoon-ah followed, her presence as graceful as ever, her expression calm, yet unreadable. Separate exits. Separate paths. Yet somehow the same story. Because even as they left in different directions, the world continued to watch as if those paths might somehow cross again. And maybe that's the true reason the rumor refuses to die. Not because of what has been proven. Not because of what has been said. But because of what has been seen and felt. A glance here. A moment there. Fragments of something that might mean everything or nothing at all. And in that uncertainty lies its power. Because certainty ends stories. But mystery? Mystery keeps them alive. And so the world continues to watch. Not for confirmation. Not for closure. But for the next moment. The next glance. The next scene. The next piece of a story that refuses to end. A story not written in scripts, but in silence. Not spoken in words, but carried in moments. A story that lingers. Unfinished. Unanswered. Unforgettable.